Our target is to get to 60% in 2 years, but we've also set a sub-target that requires that we immunize up to about 35 to 40% of our population in 2021 if we have a chance to be ahead of the pandemic.
So what do you need? COVAX is obviously the principal vehicle through which South Africa is getting their vaccines. What more do you need?
Remember that COVAX is going to supply us with at least 25% of the vaccines that we need. We have also, as a continent, established what we call the African Vaccine Acquisition Task Team, which we are striving to get supplementary doses of vaccines, and we've secured in close to about 500 million doses of vaccines. As I indicated, in the next week or so, we'll start the distribution there. So if we add the efforts from COVAX and those from the AVAC, the African Union Initiative, I think that will make us begin to make some very good progress.
And if we talk about the South African variant now, which is worrying because it seems to be, the vaccines seem to be less effective. Is the South African variant the one that you are expecting to be the predominant variant in Africa?
The simple answer is we don't know. I mean, what we know is what we documented, which is the variant that was initially described in South Africa. We also now know that the variants from the so-called the UK variant has also been identified in some parts of Africa. Now, we really don't know the dynamics of how these variants will evolve over time. In terms of, would there be new variants? We just don't know. And in terms of, would these variants overtake the pandemic in other African countries, we just don't know. But what we've done in the spirit of providing guidance to the countries is to say that if the variant in South Africa is predominant, then the AstraZeneca vaccine should not be applied. It should be used elsewhere on the continent. But we remain confident that the AstraZeneca vaccine will play a major role in our vaccination program across the continent.
The number one problem here seems to be that a worsening bipolar world, the haves and the have-nots, is going to get worse. As Europe and the developed world and the US all reach some form of immunity and life gets something back to normal, Africa, through no fault of its own, is going to be hamstrung for some years.
That is absolutely one of our greatest concerns, that the vaccine situation will continue to exacerbate the gap, the inequality gap that exists in the world, especially the North-South divide. And my greatest fear also is that once the US and Europe gets the vaccines, they begin to impose the need to have a vaccine certificate to travel, and that will become extremely complicated for Africans to travel across the world. And I think that is why we should, as a collective of the continent, and of course in partnership with the developed world, make sure that Africa has a timely access to vaccines to meet its vaccination targets.